Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Hotspur watch along. This time, our beloved Tottenham Hotspur head east to the London Stadium to take on West Ham United. And of course, it is another edition of the London Derby featuring these two teams. And of course, we're going to break it down from both angles because I think it's actually quite appropriate. And I think you would agree. And of course, we're about 30 minutes away from kickoff. Let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons because, again, man, this channel is growing rapidly. And I do thank all those across the pond in the UK that have taken a chance on this American Hotspur. And of course, for all those in the United States as well, too, that share the same passion, not just for Tottenham Hotspur, but for U.S. soccer as a whole. All right, so let's get into it because the lineups are out and there's a lot that we have to go over. And of course, the last time we saw this Tottenham Hotspur team, it was in action at home against Bournemouth. That match did not go as planned, coming off of what I consider a very good performance against Man City. Against Bournemouth, they came out flat. We're not really able to get into the match. And of course, now that the 2-week international break is over, I would assume that Thomas Frank, who probably was left with a bad taste in his mouth because of that match, is ready to get back out there. This time, he has a new weapon at his disposal, actually two weapons at his disposal. Of course, the new number 7, Xavi Simons, and of course, Randal, Kolo, Muani. But before we get into, actually, let's go ahead and take a look at the lineups first, because that will add some context to the two players that we need to talk about. And of course, here it is today. And of course, it's an interesting lineup, especially the midfield three. No Rodrigo Betancourt, because obviously he played 290s for Uruguay during their World Cup qualifying sessions. And of course, we do have Champions League coming on Tuesday. And of course, that would probably, obviously that's the reason why he's out. So today, the double pivot actually is João Palhinha and Papsar. Papsar, as we've seen in the first couple matches of the season, he was kind of lined up as that number 10. And of course, he had issues in that Bournemouth match, especially when you consider the defensive lineup that Ndiri Iriola put against this attacking three. Essentially what ended up being a mid-block. Tyler Adams actually, was more than willing to put out those fires. And as a result, Papsar didn't necessarily come with the class that we expected in that lineup. So today he's kind of dropped back as that deep lying 8. And now Lucas Bergvall, young Lucas Bergvall has lined up at least initially as the 10. But here's the interesting thing, though, right? Xavi Simons lines up on the left-hand side. So it's going to be interesting to see, is this going to be two high pressing 10s with Papsar and a Lucas Bergvall, one on the left, one on the right, because that was one of the issues against Bournemouth, where Papsar necessarily wasn't dropping back a little deeper and occupying those spaces on the left-hand side. And of course, the issues with Brennan Johnson in that match as well, too, right? So in this instance, I don't know, man. I kind of enjoy the thought of this midfield three. But that being said, how's the link-up play going to be? How's that going to look centrally in that setup outside the 18-yard box, right? Does Lucas Bergvall necessarily have that touch and that instinct? Or is this going to be a situation where you're going to see Xavi Simons kind of drift a little centrally, and there's going to be an overlap with Bergvall and Xavi? Or is this going to be a little bit more traditional, or you're just going to have the free reins of Xavi on the left to cut in on his right foot and go 1v1 on the outside? Or is that going to be maybe of an overlap between him and a guy like Jed Spence, right? So there's a lot of intrigue with this starting 11. All right, so let's get into it, because one of the intrigue that I have is with this guy right here, Matisse Tell. No Richarlison today. Of course, Richarlison himself had some minutes in the international window for Brazil, and of course, the reason why we have to talk about this is because, of course, Matisse Tell was left off the Champions League roster initially, and now this is an opportunity. Certainly, he's had minutes in the second half of last season. He's had minutes on the left and up top, and of course, the question is whether or not he's able to actually handle the rigors of what's expected in the Premier League, right? So far, I think there's some built-in excuses with a guy like Matisse Tell because he is 19, 20 years old. He has yet to necessarily show the quality, but that's where the excuse is, right? Because the ceiling, you can see the ceiling, and now it's just going to be an issue of whether or not he's going to be able to get the consistent minutes where he actually can develop. Me personally, I think he's in the position where he needs to be. I do not think that he's a left-sided attacker. I don't think it necessarily suits his strengths. And I actually think that playing up top is correct, right? I think he's got the pace, and I also think he's got the IQ within the box to potentially get on the end of crosses from both sides, right? And now that you have actually you actually have a talented playmaker on the left, it's going to open up channels for him, right? That was the biggest problem against Bournemouth, is because we didn't have link-up play in the middle. We didn't have any creativity. We reverted to playing the long ball down the right, and of course, when Bournemouth overloaded the right, there was nothing. There was nothing else available, and that allowed both the Bournemouth center backs to really just kind of bully Richarlison in the box. But now that we actually have some width, and I have to stress this, right? Now that we actually have some width, it's going to keep West Ham actually a little bit more honest, which I actually believe plays a little bit into the pace in the IQ of a guy like Matisse Tell. The question is Matisse Tell up for it today in a derby match that I actually think, quite honestly, this is the type of match where, you shouldn't come out flat and potentially be on the back foot. So that's going to be an interesting one right there. Let's go to the chat right here because we have Wayne Babana. What's up, my friend Wayne? I hope you're doing well. I hope your weekend is getting off to a great start. He says, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're well. I like the lineup. Looking forward to seeing how Tell does up front with good players supplying the ball. Exactly, right? That's the absolute point, right? Because service has been, especially in that Bournemouth game, was an issue. And especially when you're going up against creative managers that know how to game plan against your attack. And because we were a one-dimensional attack, that absolutely played into the strengths of Bournemouth. And now Matisse Tell has a very good opportunity, I guess to make a name for himself, right? And it's against an opponent that is absolutely not quality. We're going to get into the West Ham side of things in just a minute, but we do have to talk about this young man right here, Xavi Simons. And of course, he is I guess you can say, the star of the stud of the summer transfer window. And of course, he's the type of player that tilts the pitch. And what do I mean by that, right? Because he's world class. I don't think anybody can dispute the fact that he's world class on both feet. Of course, a little bit better through central areas. If you look at his career numbers, I think 48 career starts as an attacking midfielder, 21 goals, 17 assists. But that being said, 59 starts on the wing. Career-wise, I think he's got 17 goals, 18 assists. So, I mean, he's not a mug on the outside either. And that was the point, right? And I think one of the things that we had seen, in that Burnley match, in that Man City match. Now, granted, we did a good job. Burnley is a relegation candidate, of course. So I don't think we were worried about. The deficiencies in our attack against a team like Burnley. But certainly, one of the things that I think we enjoyed against Man City was the fact that we just took it right to them. And I would probably assume that Man City was looking at this like, oh, okay, well, it's Spurs. Well, we got the better of them and ended up with the 3 points. But a team like Bournemouth that doesn't look past anyone. And I think maybe there might have been some of that from our side. And they did right by putting us on the back foot for most of that game. And by the time we were trying to hunt for that one goal, the game was already put away. And it is what it is. We couldn't break him down. But now we actually have a playmaker in Xavi Simons who can create his own space on the left, right? That's something that Brendan Johnson doesn't possess. It's one of the things that I think that Wilson Odobert potentially could possess. But as of right now, right, just like Matisse Tell, man, he's developing those skills to put in his locker at this point. As much as I like Wilson Odobert, obviously Xavi Simons is a different animal, right? the question that I have for you guys, by the way, and of course, I want to thank those that are tuning in and those that are going to be participating in this watch along today in the chat. What is your expectations for Xavi Simons? Me personally, I think this is. Let's take this one back again, right? Because Xavi Simons is coming from the Bundesliga, right? He has actually had he has participated in far more intensive derbies than a match against a team like West Ham, right? He's played against the Bayern Munichs, man. He's played against the Leverkusens and the Wolfsburgs and some of these teams that are in the Bundesliga, right? He's had multiple big matches where he has come good, right? So I expect his confidence levels to be at an all-time high, right? I always say this, and this is also true in football as it is in your own lives, right? You have only one opportunity at a good first impression. And this is a star-studded signing. Yes, there is the issue with the transfer, the money that was involved, but also there's also some hype surrounded from Xavi Simons, and he wants to come correct. He wants to let Thomas Frank know that he was right by bringing him through the door, right? These are the type of players that you build around. And I fully expect Xavi Simons to come good, right? So I'm looking forward to it, right? Is there going to be maybe a central overlap between him and Lucas Bergvall where he's kind of drifting into the box a little bit more centrally, which is going to leave that left side to a guy like Jed Spence, who, of course, is coming off his debut with the English national team. Me personally, I actually think that's quality. Or is this going to be a situation where they're potentially attacking with two high tens with Papsar and a guy like Lucas Bergvall, and he's going to go 1v1, whether that's to the inside, creating his own space and putting shots on net? Or is this going to be a situation where he's going to just look at Kyle Walker-Peters as a straight up punk and just take him 1v1 around the corner, right? Because either way, I don't think you're going to be able to go wrong. Like when you look at what West Ham is throwing out there, right? I don't think that that's an even matchup. As a matter of fact, I think Xavi Simons is going to take Kyle Walker-Peters to the cleaners today. And I think it's going to be routine, right? So there's a reason why I actually have my prediction at 3-0, because me personally, I just don't think West Ham is a good team. As a matter of fact, I actually think they are going to be circling the relegation drain this year. And it's no disrespect to West Ham. It's just that it's an old team. It's a team that has been played off the park a few times already this season. Yes, they beat Forest, but at the same time, you actually have to look at what Forest was at the time under Nuno. And by the way that Forest was set up against them, right? They actually showed West Ham respect by playing a little bit more defensive, a more defensive counterattacking style that I think plays into what West Ham wants opponents to play. That wants opponents to play against them, right? So for me, this is all about us, not them. And Wayne Bonner, 4-0. I love it, Wayne. As a matter of fact, I got it at 3-0. But I love the enthusiasm, right? The issue for me though is the only worry that I have is Paqueta and Bowen. I'm not a big fan of Fernandez or Ward-Prowse. I don't like their defensive back four, and I actually think there's going to be plenty of space for us to exploit, right? Let's go ahead and get into their starting 11 as well, too. And, of course, Hermansson's going to be at the back. Their back four of Diouf, Kilman, Mavropanos, and Walker-Peters. Their double pivot of Fernandez and Ward-Prowse. They're at midfield three. Somerville, Susic, and Bowen, who is wearing the captain's armband, coming off the right. And, of course, Lucas Paqueta will be up top. And I think the interesting thing here is, number one, what's going to happen inside in front of the 18-yard box, right? So for me, this is absolutely huge. And this is where João Palhinha comes into play for me. I actually think he's going to be one of the most pivotal players on the pitch today, because what's going to be interesting is, number one, how they're going to counterattack. And if they want to play direct, right? Because I personally feel like that's going to be their best course of action, right? Because if João Palhinha can put out fires in front of the 18-yard box, in front of Van de Ven and in front of Romero, number one, it's not going to leave an avenue for Paqueta to pick us off at the back post, but it means that Jared Bowen is going to be stuck on the wings. And I like that. Me personally, I like that advantage because I do believe that Jed Spence on the left is probably one of the best 1v1 defenders in the Premier League, right? If you can put a prime Mohamed Salah in your back pocket, if you can put some of the best wingers in your back pocket, Jared Bowen is not going to be that big of an issue for a dude like Jed Spence, right? So for me, the key is João Palhinha making sure that those fires are put out in front of the box and making sure that West Ham is stuck on the wings, right? I think that's going to be easier for us to defend. I think Pedro Porro is not going to have a big time with Somerville. Say it what it is. But that being said, I personally think that the key to this game is going to be the high press, which is where a guy like Papsar comes into play, a guy like Lucas Bergvall comes into play, two guys with high intensity motors that are going to be able, to put the pressure, turn the screw a little bit as they're trying to play out of the back and as they're trying to build. But I also want to see the likes of Xavi Simons, Matisse Tell, and Mohamed Kudus also get involved as well too, because one of the things that has frustrated West Ham up to this point is the fact that teams are not afraid to press them high and create turnovers, and I think that's going to play right into the backhand of a team like Spurs, who now with a guy like Xavi Simons, I think the goal scoring is going to be tremendous today too. I think we're actually going to get a couple goals off the counter as well too, because West Ham unfortunately just does not necessarily possess the quality, to consistently push the ball forward. Think about it this way, right? West Ham got played off the park against Sunderland, a team that, I think they beat them 3-0, and it was a little bit comfortable on opening day. Then they get played off the park to a team like Chelsea. I think they scored 5 against this back four. And then they lose to a team in the EFL Cup, Wolves. A Wolves team that's clearly rebuilding. They lost some of their better players this offseason. And on paper, you would probably assume that West Ham probably beats Wolves. That wasn't the case. And yes, they got the 3 points at the City Ground against Forest. But me personally, I don't put much stock in that into that 3 points. Me personally, I think this team, again, is old. And they lack the firepower and they lack the discipline for a match like this. But on the other side of the coin, this is their cup final, right? Everybody keeps saying that this is this is West Ham's cup final, and since we actually haven't won at the stadium since the days of Jose Mourinho, there always seems to be something that West Ham brings to this fixture, and I would probably assume that there might be some potential for that today. But that being said, when you look at the matchups across both 11s, right? I think the quality sits with Spurs. I think we actually have the pace. I think we have the physicality. I think we have the leadership. That's something that I don't necessarily think that West Ham possesses, but I could be wrong. But I think I actually happen to be right on this one. But that being said, I'm curious to know what you guys feel about the midfield three. Who are the most important players that you have circled in this starting 11? I'm curious to know exactly how you guys feel about that one. Because again, when I look at this starting 11, I see class. Now, the question for me though is when we are actually trying to build up, what that linking play through the center of the park is going to look like. I guess for me, it's the two midfield two of Papsar and Lucas Bergvall, and how, essentially number one, especially I guess you could say in the build-up, if we're trying to play centrally, how that is going to look. Number one, is Bergvall going to be that type of guy that's going to drop, or is going to be pretty good in the build? In the hold-up play. That's number one. But also number two, is this going to be more or less that the build-up is actually going to start from the back with a guy like Christian Romero or Mikey Van de Ven breaking lines, right? And you're kind of playing with, what looks like, two high tens, right? I actually kind of think that's what what that's going to look like, right? Because both Romero and Van de Ven have that passing ability, and I think that from that standpoint, it kind of goes a little unnoticed, right? We don't necessarily talk about that a lot. But that being said, man, I actually think this thing is going to be. I don't necessarily want to say smooth sailing, but that being said, I just think the class is something that West Ham doesn't possess. Looking at the bench, though, here's the interesting thing. Our bench looks pretty good, man. We have Danso, Richarlison's on the bench for this one. Udogie is on the bench. I think there's going to be a potential to see Udogie come in today. Brendan Johnson's on the bench, which is going to be interesting because now you can actually use him a little strategically as well too, off both sides if we need to, if we need for whatever reason, we can play him on both sides. Me personally, I think Brendan Johnson's better suited for the right and the left, but I digress. Right, Wilson Odebear is on the bench today, and I actually like that. I think Wilson Odebear, just like Matisse Tell, needs minutes. And I think there's going to be a place for him today at some point, whether that's at the 60th minute or the 65th, between 60 and 70 minutes. I think Odebear gets on the pitch. Betancourt is also on the bench today, although I don't think Betancourt necessarily sees the pitch unless something drastic happens. Personally, I think he's being held for the Champions League game against Villarreal. Ben Davis is on the bench today. And so is Randal Kolo Muani, and that's another guy that we have to talk about today. I think the lead up into this one was absolutely telling because from everything that Thomas Frank was saying, that he hasn't played since the Club World Cup, and there also might have been some training issues that he wasn't necessarily training regularly with PSG. So the question is obviously number one, was he at least training in his own time? That's number one, and number two, is there any expectations that we will see Randal Kolo Muani today? And I think the answer is yes. Me personally, especially if we're up 2 and we're in the 65th minute and it's looking like we are, we're essentially cruising to the 3 points, I would probably expect that we're going to see Randal Kolo Muani make his debut today. The question is where are we going to see him make his debut? Because I would expect that he, as far as playing time goes, I'm curious about how many minutes are in those legs. But again, I would probably think that, at some point Tell comes off from that striker position. I think I probably would assume we're going to see Randal Kolo Muani being put up top at some point, and it's going to be nice to see him back on the pitch again today too. But I guess the other question is what is Xavi's minutes going to be looking like today? Very interesting questions today. But at the end of the day, this comes back to what Spurs are going to do, not necessarily what West Ham is going to be capable of doing. I'm sorry, it just is what it is, man. We can't focus on what West Ham is going to be trying to do. Me personally, I already know exactly what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to sit back and defend and try to hit us on the counter. And so from that standpoint, there's going to be that fine line of being on the front foot, but also being aware of the dangers of potentially getting too far forward, right? So I think that's where guys like Jed Spence come into play, guys like Pedro Porro, to be aware that yes, you can absolutely get forward and you can be ambitious, but the one thing you cannot do is neglect the opportunity for West Ham to play one over the top, because you do have Jared Bowen on that right hand side. You do have Somerville, who is actually he's an okay player, but then again you also have Lucas Paqueta as well too that absolutely can rip one if you're not careful, right? So there's going to be that fine balance of how ambitious are we going to be, and there's going to be times where we're going to have to be a little aware defensively as well too. So from that standpoint, I like Spurs today. Sorry. And I like them big. I just think we're the better team. I guess I have a question for you guys, and that is, where do you guys if there is any avenue for West Ham? Where are some of the danger areas that you're concerned? Just curious to know about that, right? Where do you look at them to try to exploit areas of the pitch where they possibly could potentially put a goal past us, right? So I'm just kind of curious to see essentially what I'm asking is, where do you think our weak link is? If there is a weak link, let me know where that one is. And of course, your score predictions. I'm kind of curious about this as we are getting close to this game kicking off. I do want to remind everyone to make sure you hit that like and subscribe buttons, as we'll be here every week for the Hotspur watch along. And as the season progresses, I'm curious to see exactly what this team looks like, especially as we get into the January windows. It's going to be a fun season. But all right, so the last time we saw this team, it was let's just call it what it was. It was a dreadful performance against a team like Bournemouth. We were absolutely one-dimensional. We absolutely had no link-up play. We did not have any creativity in that matchup, and of course, our fallback reset was just to play the ball forward. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out because they understood exactly how to defend us. And of course, trying to fit a square peg in a round hole just by trying to continuously go down the right side. And of course, the counter argument was that on the left side, because Brendan Johnson just had nothing to give. And that didn't even look like that left side was going to work until we actually did get Wilson Odebear into the match. And at that stage, we just could not break them down. And of course, I think there may have been a tactical liability by not moving Jed Spence over to the right side against a guy like Semenyo, but it was what it was. Today, I just want to see this team rebound, right? We saw it a little bit after the Super Cup coming into that first match of the season, a match that was easy to get up for because obviously it's the opener. Man City, it was an easy game to get up for. And of course, in a derby like this, man, it's easy to get up for. And I would probably assume that, Thomas Frank has those expectations written on the wall, right? I don't think that we necessarily overlook Bournemouth. I'm not going to say that, but I will say that compared to how we started against Burnley and comparatively speaking against Man City, it just seemed that we weren't necessarily up for a team like Bournemouth. I think we were kind of sloppy early, which led to that first goal from Evan Nielsen. And from that point, we just weren't able to get into it. I would like to think that Thomas Frank said the appropriate things after that match to reinforce the expectations that there's just certain things that will not be allowed. And of course, in that context, this one's absolutely kind of massive, I would assume, because it's an opportunity to take 3 points against a London rival. And if the expectations of this season are to be a top four team, these are the type of matches where you absolutely have to take 3 points. There is no middle ground when it comes to these type of matches, right? We should be beating the Bournemouths of the world, the West Hams of the world, the Leeds, Wolves, those type of teams. And of course, it's easy to get up for Man City, but it's another thing, especially coming off an international break, where there might be some lag, right? The question is whether or not Spurs are going to show up and take their fans, take their supporters out of the game early. That's what I want to see today. I want to see early goals. I want to see this team come out 2 guns a-blazing and looking like the quality team that they are. Wayne Bonner says the liability is exploiting Poro's defensive frailties. So that's what I was thinking as well too. But when I think about this, when I think about that right side, it's going to be Christian Romero making sure that the backside is covered, and João Palhinha is eating up space in front of him, right? So there is not going to be any defensive liabilities. But we are underway here at the London Stadium. It looks like Spurs are going to be playing from right to left. That ball is going to ping around as Vicario played it forward. And it looks like that ball will get out for a Spur. Is that going to be a Spurs throw-in? As there's Jared Bowen. And it will be a Spurs throw-in. It looks like Lucas Bergvall will be responsible for the throw-in. Good lad, that Lucas Bergvall, and he's going to throw one into the box. That's a good throw. That gets headed up, but that ball's going to be kept in. As that ball was deflected, looks like it was a shot by Kudus. And Papstar tried to keep it in right there, but it looks like it's going to get out for a goal kick. So already Kudus trying to make his presence known early. And it looks like West Ham is going to play this long. As for Manson, will shoot this one deep down the left-hand side, headed forward. And West Ham will try to play this one back in. As it falls to Kudus. And that ball is going to get played out of the right-hand side. And it looks like West Ham is trying to potentially bully Kudus a little bit. But Kudus wins that ball as he's going to try to play up the right-hand side that gets tapped out. And that's what I want to see. I want to see some aggression. As that ball will get played back. And it's Cudi Romero. As Jed Spence now will try to play this forward. Not exactly a great forward pass. But there's Xavi. Love it. As West Ham will play this one in. Good touch right there. And there's a foul on Susik. As Paulinho hits the deck. As play resumes, it's Mikey Van de Ven. Looks like Van de Ven's probably going to get a new contract coming up, which is absolutely brilliant. As Van de Ven will try to play this one forward, there's just nobody there. As the Spurs press for Manson. That's going to get out for Spurs throw-in. And it'll be Jed Spence who will play it in. As Lucas Bergvall is going to have to play this one back. As it's Van de Ven back to Romero. As that ball is going to get played up the right-hand side, trying to find Kudus. There's nobody there. As now West Ham will attack down the left-hand side, but that through ball was a little too far forward. As Vicario has no problem bringing that one back in. And Van de Ven will play this deep. Looks like it's going to be Xavi Simons racing to the ball as it just gets a little too far forward. And it will get out for a West Ham goal kick with the first opportunity for Xavi Simons to get played forward into space. Absolutely brilliant. Here at the London Stadium, there's the West Ham. Actually, no, that's the Spurs contingent right there. Look at that. Look at those guys. It's weird not seeing Daniel Levy. But there's Vinay. Looks like it's Charrington. It's weird, man. It's weird not seeing Daniel Levy at Spurs matches, but it is what it is. As Pedro Porro will be responsible for this throw-in. And now that ball's going to get played forward, but there's just nobody there. So far, oh, that's a nice little takeaway right there. Ooh, that one's played out. And it looks like it's going to be, here's Bowen. And that ball is going to get played to the, I don't even know what that was. But it's held in by Somerville. Trying to play the 1-2 with Paqueta. And that ball's going to get played in, and that's going to get headed away. As they're going to try to play this one down the left-hand side between Doof and Somerville. And West Ham has to play it back. Nice little 1-2 right there on the left-hand side. Kept in. That ball's going to get played to the back post. That's going to get well over the head and out for a goal kick. Nice little ball movement right there, down deep in Spurs territory right there. Good defense right there by Mikey Van de Ven as Spurs held up against West Ham's first opportunity. And Spurs are going to try to play out of the back, and West Ham is pressing pretty well, but there's the switch to the left-hand side. And I think they're going to say this one gets out. Good idea right there. Trying to find the switch. Trying to play it forward up the left-hand side with Xavi and Jedi. There's a takeaway right there in the mid. Here's Xavi on the left-hand side. He's got space. Xavi's trying to cut in. Plays it forward to Bergvall. Lays it back to Sarr. Here's Pedro Porro. And he lays it off for Kudus. Kudus beats his man. Ooh. That's a tackle right there. And it looks like this is going to be a Spurs first corner. And it'll be Kudus taking it. Spurs look pretty strong in that attempt up the pitch. Good link-up play between Xavi and Lucas Bergvall. That's Kudus now. We'll whip this in. Back post. Headed away. Held in by Xavi. As Jed Spence now. As that ball gets played back to Vicario. Now Vicario will play it up the right-hand side. I think this might be offside. Good. Here's Kudus. Gets around his man, Kudus. That's going to lay it back. Played in. Headed out. And there's a whistle. Spurs look a little bit more like the electric side on the attacking front. I will give West Ham credit because their press actually has been pretty nice. Forcing Spurs to play it back. And there's Graham Potter. Little Harry Potter. As West Ham will play this long. Down the left-hand side. And that ball is going to get played all the way back and out for a goal kick. One of the things I like to see is Thomas Frank kind of switch it up because he is playing out of the back. And of course, it allows West Ham literally to press. So I'd like to see maybe them switching up depending on the circumstances. As Van de Ven now will try to shoot this one forward, but it drops right down to Jed Spence. Here's Spence. Plays it for Bergvall. Plays it back to Spence. That's going to get tipped out. And they're going to say, ooh, a West Ham throw-in. And that one's going to get played all the way back. And now West Ham has no choice but to play it forward. Spurs will hold possession. Papsar. And that has to get played back. As that ball's going to go centrally right here. Nice little drop off. It's Polinia. Plays it out to Pedro Porro. And the Spurs are going to have to play this one back again as they're going to have to reset here. Here's Van de Ven. Ooh, I like that nice little drop touch right there by Xavi. Coming a little bit more centrally to make that touch. And now Spurs will set up on the left-hand side. Here's Jed Spence along the touch line. It's Polinia who's going to try to play one in. There's just nobody there. Trying to will a player forward on a run. There just was nobody there. And it looked like that was Papsar, who was supposed to make that run forward on the edge of that Polinia touch. As we're about 12 and a half minutes in here, neither team really has been aggressive in the attack, which is actually kind of standard, although I would like to see a little bit more aggression from Spurs moving forward. As here's Papsar trying to play one forward. And that's going to be played out on the right side touchline. As Diop was there to close that channel then. Nice way to break it up by Polini, who's going to play this one forward. And there's a whistle. Yeah, of course. A little too aggressive right there on Matisse Tell, who was trying to hold it up. That might be a problem. As now there's going to be a switch to the right-hand side. And that ball's taken away right there as Tell couldn't hold it up. As West Ham now. They're going to try to lay it deep off the right-hand side. Here's Bowen. They're going to move this centrally. There's a shot. Ooh, and it goes wide by Paqueta. As West Ham played it into a dangerous area. As Bowen played it centrally. Nice little pass right there. As Paqueta just absolutely missed the far post against a guy like Pedro Porro. As Paqueta, his only opportunity was the open side of the net at the far side. And now Spurs are in transition here. Here's Xavi. There's the overlap. Here's Xavi centrally. Oh, that touch was just a little heavy. And now West Ham is going to try to break. As they're going to try to play this one forward. That touch is just way too heavy. As Spurs have been very sloppy in possession. Can't necessarily string passes together. That ball was taken away. And here's Bone. Oh, great play right there by Mikey Van de Ven to break up the rhythm of Bowen right there. But the one thing that we can say for sure right now is Spurs right now in possession have not been good. A little sloppy, a little clunky, can't string passes together. In the meantime, West Ham has kind of taken advantage of it. As Walker Peters now will play this one in. As this one will get played out. As now West Ham will try to reset. As there's the overlap off the left. There's Diop. And Spurs will break this in as Paqueta was coming around the other side. Here's Xavi. And Xavi now will play it centrally. Here's Pap Sarr. Lays it off for Pedro Porro. As Spurs now will play it between their center backs. Spurs are having trouble getting forward. Spurs will try to reset. Here's Pap Sarr now. Here's Kudus. And unfortunately, Spurs just aren't getting forward here. As that ball is going to get played through. Off the left-hand side, here's Xavi. 1v1 against KWP. Xavi's going to cut in. He's going to, ooh. As he has somebody at the back post. As it looks like he both had Kudus and Tell. But that's going to get headed out. So it'll be Spurs' second corner here. As you were kind of wondering whether or not Xavi was going to be a little bit more central in those 1v1 situations, sure enough. Spurs kind of came out a little bit the same way as they did against Bournemouth. As Kudus will fire one in, back post header, go! Oh, they're taking one away. Oh, the ref is taking one away. As we look at this again, I don't understand where the foul was. Where is the foul? That's what I want to know. Where the hell was the foul on the play? That's an absolutely shambolic decision. So now we're going to VAR. Yeah, this absolutely has to be overturned. How do you? And they're, oh my God, they're allowing that decision to stand. That is an absolutely shambolic decision right there. I don't understand how that goal was taken off. Unbelievable. You know, that's the type of shit that Arsenal gets away with all the time. as that ball is now going to get played down the right-hand side. Here's Bowen. Oh, Van de Ven. Absolutely beautiful tackle right there by Mikey. And it looks like Tell now is hobbling. Wow. Unbelievable turn of events. The Spurs have an absolutely beautiful set piece goal taken off the board for what? That's what I want to know. Is that ball's going to get played in? And there's nothing there. Unbelievable. How you take away unfreaking real. So Spurs actually have a goal taken away on an absolutely shambolic call. And now West Ham will have their first corner. Hopefully Spurs have the ability to get over it. They can't allow their emotions to dictate as this ball will get played short. As that ball is going to get played to the back post. And there's Vicario right there to clean it up. But unbelievable. Hopefully that decision does not come back to screw Spurs in the long run, as they actually earned that goal. And I just don't understand it, right? VDV was pinned down by Paqueta. As here's Cudi Romero, as now West Ham is going to be pressuring. As Tell now is going to try to pressure Hermanson. That ball gets played forward. And and it's going to be West Ham possession here, as they're going to be trying to play it up the left-hand side. Yeah, there's a whistle on Papsar. Unbelievable, absolutely shambolic decision. As that ball now is going to go to the right to Bowen, and that just sails over his head. It'll be a Spurs throw-in, but I just don't understand how you can take a goal like that off the board. Oh, I see. They're saying that it was on Van de Ven for the, I guess you could say, that little punch to the throat against Fernandez right there. That's absolutely shambolic. Because Fernandez ends up actually having his arms around VDV. Unbelievable. Unbelievable decision. But nonetheless, still 0-0 at this point, as West Ham actually has done a good job of getting forward. As Pedro Porro gets beat right there. As Spurs are trying to clear it. That's going to get held in. Oh, boy. As that ball is going to go to the backside, that gets headed out, but West Ham will keep it in. Unreal. There's Kyle Walker-Peters. That's Fernandez now. Back to Peters. Off the right-hand side. Ooh, nice tackle right there. Nice tackle by Xavi. I like Tell, but by God, he's more lightweight than Brian Hill. As for the disallow, it was. Oh, okay. Yeah. But you're right about Tell. As it looks like Tell now is down. And it looks like Richarlison is starting to warm up. I actually kind of like this. As Tell actually has been playing hurt for a little bit. As he earlier in the about 5 minutes earlier, after that disallowed goal, you saw Tell kind of limping around a little bit. And it looks like Paqueta. Yeah. Yeah, but you know what's interesting about it? It's like it's absolutely shambolic that decision was made. As that one gets out, and it looks like it'll be a Spurs throw, and as Matisse Tell obviously is limping as he's trying to get down the pitch, and Thomas Frank is still gabbing with the side judge right there. Spurs should be up 1-0 at this stage, but whatever. That's the actually, that's the type of goal that obviously, you know, you can actually stage a little bit more confidence, a little bit momentum. Instead, the ref just has to be the main character in the story. As that ball gets played forward, headed up, and that ball is going to get played back to Hermanson. But there's Lucas Bergvall. Ooh, it looks like there might have been yeah, it's going to get played out. And it'll be a Spurs throw, and it's going to be interesting to see if Thomas Frank is going to take Tell off the pitch here. Although I will say that Tell really hasn't been playing all that well in this one. Can't hold the ball up. That's been obviously on direct passes centrally. He's literally been ran over. Well, here's Cudi Romero. That's a nice little direct pass. Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. Jed Spence stays with the play. That ball gets played in. As it looks like the Matisse Tell flying to the near post. But it was a little too far forward and it was easy for Hermanson. Nice hustle right there by Jed Spence, because that actually probably should have been a whistle. As Xavi was cut down. But West Ham loses possession as they were trying to play it forward. As Jed Spence still stays with it. Look at the hustle. Dude, look at the strength of Jed Spence. Dude has 2 West Ham shirts surrounding him. Is able to hold that one up. I'm a big fan of Jedi. I'm slowly coming around. For a long time I was Team Udoji. Still am to a sense, but I actually have to give credit where credit's due. That dude's developed into a very good fullback. The fact that he's able to do it on the left side while predominantly right-footed, it's impressive. Spurs now will have the possession as it's Cudi Romero. As now they'll play it down the left-hand side again. It'll be Xavi. Here's Simons as he'll play this one back. And my buddy Nate Holloway has checked in. Good to see you, Nate. He says, RIFC TID Vamos game day versus the Indy 11. I love it. Is that, by the way, is that in Rhode Island or is that in Indy? Asking for a friend. As that ball gets played out. So we are approaching the 30-minute mark as Spurs should be up 1-0. Unfortunately, they have a disallowed goal off the corner. As Van de Ven now will have to play it back to Vicario, who skies one centrally. And here's Jed Spence now on the left. Spurs should be working this one around. That's a nice little through ball right there by Bergvall. It's Jed Spence 1v1 against Kyle Walker-Peters as he tries to play one around. As that ball's going to get chipped to the back post. And as you said, 7 p.m. At Centerville Bank Stadium. Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, that match is on CBS tonight. I might check this out. By the way, that was a nice little give and go around the corner for Bergvall as Xavi didn't have room to get off a shot, played it off to the right, but Bergvall was offside. And this will be a goal kick as Hermansen will play it to the left. As West Ham is under a little bit of pressure here. As that ball's going to get played forward. That's a nice play by Pedro Porro to bring it down. As they were looking for Somerville long. But Spurs cannot connect off the right side. West Ham will have possession again. This time trying to be a little bit more direct. But again, Jed Spence comes down with it. Here comes Xavi at space. Xavi working it down. Plays it off the left. That's a good play right there defensively by KWP. 12 plus appearances. It's kind of an interesting matchup between those two. So far, Xavi has actually looked pretty good, man, in his ability to move the ball forward. He looks light and easy on the ball, which is kind of to be expected. But now, as Spurs continue to try to force it down the left-hand side, you can kind of see West Ham shading a little bit to the left as that ball gets whipped in by Xavi. That's going to be held in by Porro. That was a bad pass right there by Jed Spence. Now here comes West Ham on the break off the right side as Jed is going to race Bowen. And I think they're going to say that went out. Actually, it was Somerville. As they're replaying that disallowed goal again. I just don't understand how you make that call. As Spurs will have the possession here. As Pedro Porro is going to try to play one long down to Kudus off the right-hand side. And they're going to stay corner. Spurs work another corner here. The Spurs definitely are matching intensity and toughness equal to, but it's that link-up play that still has to be ironed out. Spurs will try this one again. As that ball gets whipped in, back post. Ooh. It looks like Susek put this one out. As Fernandez absolutely tackles Mikey Van de Ven to the turf right there. Like, I don't understand the logic. Absolutely spineless decision from the refs. At this time, it's like this time Fernandez absolutely body checks Van de Ven. Throws him to the turf. Yeah, it's all right, though. Yeah, that's cool. Absolutely spineless decision from these refs, man. not the one. I'm not the type of guy that blames refs at all. But that being said, spineless decision to take a goal off, and now all of a sudden you're not gonna call blatant fouls in the box. Is that one? Drops down. It looks like it was Matisse Tell right there. Because now Poro will play one in. That's going to drop back. Here's Xavi. Xavi's going to play one back post. Ooh. And there was Kudus. That just flies over the head right there. Nice ball, though, from Xavi. That dude's, oh, God, that ball, that dude has a touch. Just a little over the head. Not a bad first impression from Xavi. Although I would like to see some halftime changes, though, as we're in the 36th minute. And here's Pedro Porro, who plays it back to Vicario. The Vicario. As Pedro is going to try to play it up. Held up. Here's Bergvall. That's Papstar. Tries to make the turn. Here's Kudus. On the right-hand side, Kudus is going to play one in. Ooh. As that one's going to head out. It'll be another Spurs corner. As Matisse Tell, I don't know, man. This was a golden opportunity for Matisse. And we're 36, 37 minutes in. He's like, I've not been impressed with this ref at all, letting West Ham get away with too much shithousery. Oh, yeah. Well, it's just the discrepancy, right? That ball's gonna get played in. Ooh, Papsar. As that ball was played short. As Pedro put one in, as we see it again. Ooh. And they're going to say corner again. As Kudus has looked good taking these corners from the right-hand side. As that ball gets whipped in. Back post, that's going to get skied. And now they're going to try to clear this one. But Pedro Porro is going to keep it in. And it's Bergvall. And there's a whistle as Bowen goes down. Oh. I just... this reffing crew, I'm telling you, man. I just don't get it. I do not get the understanding with this. And looks like this will be a goal kick here. But that being said, it's like you're gonna disallow a goal on a non-foul, but then on another set piece where there's an absolute clear foul, you're gonna let it go. So just say that you're not a Spurs fan, and that's cool. As Xavi now, it's going 1v1 with KWP as that ball gets skied. Out of play for a Spurs throw-in. Centrally there just is no link-up play, right? So it's essentially being played down two wings, right? And that's kind of why that ball is going to be taken away, as they were looking for Matisse Tell. And here comes West Ham now, trying to play centrally. As now they're going to move it out to KWP. And here's Bowen now on the right side against Jed. That ball's going to take a deflection. Ooh! That was close, man. There was a deflection right in front of Vicario, and I think it might have been Van de Ven right there. Oh yeah, he was actually trying to head that one out. Ooh, fortunate. And that's kind of why I wanted to see Xavi a little bit far more centrally. And it's nothing against Lucas Bergvall. It's just he's not a 10. And there is just absolutely nothing creative wise in central areas. You can see Xavi, Xavi floating a little bit more centrally, just trying to get something going here. Using space in those central areas, as that ball is going to get played to Bergvall. Bergvall's going to lift one up. There's just nobody there. As here's Jed. And Jed's going to play one in. That's going to come down to Caduce. 1v1 against Diop. Oro. Ooh! That was a nice ball in from Poro. Here's Caduce. Caduce is going to play one that looks like it gets deflected, and it'll get out for another corner. This Caduce is looking good. I will say that as this first half has progressed, Xavi has grown into this thing. And that, as far as second half adjustments, that's kind of what I would like to see, man. I would like to see Xavi taking that 10 role, maybe bring in a guy like Odebear. But yeah, Richie has to come on, as that ball is going to be headed out. It's Xavi. Xavi's going to play one back post. That's going to be headed out. It's Caduce. Caduce. Ooh, chipped by Van de Ven. That's going to get played out. As Xavi will be quick. Oh, nice play right there by Simons. Oh, Jed put one a little too far, but it held in. Here's Caduce. As Paulina's got to play this one back. Look at Van de Ven holding it up. Here's Jedi. Plays it central. There's nobody there. Kept in. Here's Xavi. Oh, that's got to be a whistle. Yeah. Oh, no whistle. Oh, nice play by Diop. And Van de Ven makes a great tackle right there. Oh. I don't believe it. Xavi gets absolutely, that was easily a foul right there. As the play stands. Oh. But in other news, Xavi looks great as that ball's taken away. Oh, nice play right there by Lucas Bergvall. As here comes Xavi now. Moving centrally. And here's Jed Spence now. Plays it forward, trying to find Matisse Tell. There's nobody there. Damn. As Paqueta will try to play this one forward. And it's Cudi Romero. And Wayne Bonner says, Xavi looks like Luka Modric, or he reminds him. Yeah, and I'm telling you, man, that's the type of character and talent that he has. We call that, tilting the pitch. Yeah, and what I really want to see at the half is Richie up top, Kolo Muani on the left, and Xavi underneath. I think that would literally give this attack something completely different. Because right now it just feels like West Ham is just easily defending, they're essentially keeping Spurs on the wing. Here's KWP. And it's Paqueta who plays it forward. And that ball's taken away. Nice play forward. Now here comes Spurs. Down. Oh, Xavi. As we are now in the 45th minute with 2 minutes of stoppage or injury time, as it will be a West Ham throw-in. I certainly think Spurs have kind of grown a little bit into the first half. Should be up 1-0. That was a nice little play right there by Pedro Porro. As that ball is going to come down. Nice defense right there by Cootie. The question is if you're going to make some changes at the half, right? Does Lucas Bergvall come off? Do you keep Papstar on? It's a very interesting question, right? I guess, from a defensive standpoint, I guess maybe you might value Bergvall a little bit better. That's a nice play around the corner. Oh, nice takeaway right there by Pedro Porro. And Porro's going to have to be a little bit more direct. As that comes down, Spurs will hold possession. And here comes Spurs now. Here's Xavi in space. Lays it forward. It's Jedi. And yeah, there's going to be a whistle. As Spurs finally get a call. As we look at this one again. And it looks like Paqueta got him right there on the shin. As Jed Spence now is elongating a little bit. That kick to the shin. There you go, bud. You're good. You know it. As that was what I like to call a shithousery foul right there. And I'm absolutely happy that we finally got that whistle. So now Xavi will be staring over this free kick. Yeah, you're good, bud. You're good. Xavi will be holding this free kick here. Good. This is a good spot to be in here. Do they go back post? As that ball's going to go, it's going to be headed out. Yeah, I just went short. Oh, Pedro. And there's the halftime whistle. So, unfortunately, this halftime right now is 0-0 because we had a goal taken away. Spurs should be up 1-0, but as it stands, we go into the half 0-0. Now, the interesting thing was I didn't necessarily think Spurs started really all that great for the most part. They were struggling in the link-up play. I didn't think they were absolutely crisp at all. As a matter of fact, they were absolutely sloppy. But as that first half was growing into it, you saw Spurs were absolutely growing into it, most notably Xavi. He looks absolutely comfortable on the ball. And I think some of those areas Spurs definitely improved. That being said, I thought as that first half grew, they actually got a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more dominant on the ball. Now, obviously, it's that link-up play in the final third, and so that's where I guess halftime changes have to come into play. Let's go ahead and look at some of these stats in the first half. Spurs lead the possession battle, 57-43. As far as XG goes, 0.35, which probably would assume that Spurs really aren't necessarily getting into the creative aspect of things. But total shots, Spurs 5, West Ham 2. Both are even on shots and target. Accurate passes, Spurs 199, West Ham 150. They're even on fouls committed, and Spurs lead the corner battle 8-1. Jesus. As we look at shots a little in deep, let's see. Shots inside the box 3-2 for Spurs, and shots outside the box 2-0. When it comes to passes here, Spurs 241 total. Passes in their own half, Spurs 119. West Ham 68. Passes in the opposition half, 82-80. Accurate ball, Spurs 14, West Ham 11. Throws 12-11. Touches in the opposition box 14-5. And I absolutely like that. Defense, they're all even on tackles. West Ham has far more clearances, which would suggest that Spurs have actually been the dominant side when it comes to being front-footed. Duels, 29-24 to West Ham, although ground duels is even 16-16. Aerial duels, 13-8. And, of course, there has been no cards issued. I would say from the aspect that what we saw in the first half, what I do want to see are some halftime adjustments here. Mainly because, you can build on how we finished that first half. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and get into
Let me talk to you. A little reference there. But I'm going to stop messing about. I'm going to talk to you about private internet access, the best VPN in the land. Now, when you're online, you may not realize, but all of your data is there for the taking by anybody. With a VPN such as private internet access, your data is safe and secure, streamlined, and nobody else can get hold of it. That's why I use one anyway. VPN's very easy to use. Private internet access, all you got to do is log on your phone, select where you want to be. So I want to be in America, and I click go, and there we are. You can also link up your devices to it from your phone if that is easier for you. It's available on a lot of platforms as well, as you can see, and you can use it for a very, very big range of things. So that's even better as well. You can use it, like I said, on all your devices, smartphone, tablets, gaming consoles, and stick it on your modem. And it's unlimited devices. One equals all. It's available all across the world, and it works perfectly. What they do is they mask your IP address, so pesky 3 o'clock kickoffs aren't an issue anymore, and they're independently audited, so there's no logs, 30 million customers, and 4.5-star Trustpilot rated excellent review. Private internet access. Get yours now.
All right, nice little word from our sponsor, Private Internet and Internet Access, and of course, we do appreciate that. All right, so we're at the half, obviously 0-0, and as I mentioned before the break, as that first half got into it, I will say that number one, Spurs definitely grew into that first half. Defensively, I think they've been absolutely rock solid to the point where not only have they essentially taken away the wings from West Ham, the only time that they were absolutely dangerous was that ball into the box where Paqueta pushed it wide. And outside of that, Spurs have absolutely been rock solid on the defensive side. Now it's time to adjust and add a little bit to that attacking third. I think we can all agree that Matisse Tell in that first half, yes, he was kind of hobbling there for a little bit, but his hold up play isn't there. And of course, he just has not been able to create his own space. As a matter of fact, he seems to be bullied in the box by their two center backs, right? So there is room to adjust on that side. I would probably like to see Richie come off on the second half. And that just adds a little bit, leadership and experience that we're absolutely lacking up top. And maybe, just maybe, if there is an opportunity, maybe a little Randal, Kolo, Muani potentially on that left side that would free up Xavi to be a little bit more direct underneath where, again, I think, I think it's been lacking. And this is nothing, this is nothing against Lucas Bergvall or Papsar. It's just you can see, Xavi's movement. And, the dude's been brilliant, especially pushing up the pitch. And that's something where we just need to be a little bit more direct centrally. And I think that would definitely open up a couple avenues, whether you're trying to play direct up to Richarlison up top, or if you're trying to get, Kudus, 1v1 on the right side. I think that absolutely helps big time, because as we saw on, multiple times moving forward, when Xavi drifts centrally and he's playing the ball forward, all of a sudden, defenders have to lock in on Xavi, which does allow a better overlap on both sides of the ball. So I would like to see a change in that that portion of the pitch. So let's go check in with Audio Artisan, who says, "Big up, Steve. I believe that we will win." I do too. See it, believe it, manifest it. Let's manifest some abundance today. Richie needs to come off in the second half. Someone needs to have a word with the ref. He's been dog shit. Yeah, no, seriously, dude. It's unbelievable, some of the calls. But that being said, now look at that. Okay, cool. New striker for Newcastle. But that being said, I would agree. One of the things that I like is the fact that both Kudus and Porro have been putting good balls into the box. We're seeing it on the left side as well too. Xavi Simons putting good balls into the box. Same thing with Jed Spence. The problem is with that width, you would expect to see some movement from that striker position. We're not getting it, right. And again, I don't mean to disrespect a dude like, I don't want to disrespect, Matisse Tell. He's still a young player. But that being said, you see the intensity of which West Ham has in their center backs, right? They are being physical. And unfortunately, Matisse Tell is getting bullied. And of course, because of that, the confidence kind of wanes. And now all of a sudden, you're not able to use your one strength, which is speed. He's got pace, right? And unfortunately, he's not using that in the box to his benefit. And so unfortunately, those crosses are, not going, he's not getting on the end of them, right? But we're also not seeing central runs either. And that's something that is a little bit alarming, right? You would expect that if Matisse Tell is not being able, to find himself in the box, you would expect maybe a Papsar or maybe even a Lucas Bergvall to kind of make those runs, whether that's at the near post or the far post, to try to put yourself in a better position to put the ball in the back of the net. And, we're just not necessarily seeing that a lot. But that being said, bringing on a Richarlison in the second half, I think that opens it up, potentially bringing in a Randal, Kolo, Muani. Now you wonder whether or not he's got a half in him. Is this going to be a situation where we're going to wait to the 60th minute or the 65th minute before we see a Randal, Kolo, Muani? Be that as it may, Spurs absolutely have to start the second half continuously on the front foot, trying to put pressure and getting a goal on the board. It's something we absolutely have to have within the first 10, 15 minutes to begin that second half. Yeah, so there it is. And it says the stars are aligning for Kolo to come in and win the game. I would love that, man. I would absolutely love that. Before we begin the second half, make sure you do hit those like and subscribe buttons, because at the end of the day, man, this channel is absolutely growing, but also the likes as well too. The algorithm is the algorithm, and this channel doesn't get put on Front Street unless those likes are there. So make sure you do hit that like and subscribe button. And also just to let you know that I am on the social media platforms on X at Stateside Footy, and of course on TikTok as well too. As post game, I will be posting to the old TikTok feed right there. So both seem to be growing quite well. So I'm actually quite happy with it. And of course, it doesn't work without you guys out there that believe in the channel. And I do appreciate those guys that are in the chat, and of course those that are tuning in as well too. So I do want to send you guys a thanks. but we are getting close to the start of the second half. And I do believe that right now, over the course of the last 25 minutes in the first half, Spurs have emerged as the better team. And of course, that's because of the quality, right? There is a reason why we're getting forward with ease, and it's because even with a sloppy, I guess you can say, a sloppy attacking third, we're still being able to not only create turnovers in the middle of the park, but we're also able to get forward with ease. It's just unlocking that attacking third versus what West Ham is trying to do. They're not also able to link up centrally, and as a result, you see exactly what we're doing on the wings as well too. And by the way, big shout out to Mikey Van de Ven and his tackles, man. Those standing tackles are just brilliant, man. There were a couple down that right hand side when Bowen was trying to get on the ball, and there's Mikey Van de Ven, essentially just knifing through with an unbelievable sliding tackle, man. God damn it, he's actually brilliant. So that just kind of lets you know exactly where West Ham stands in the grand scheme of this match. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to the second half because I actually do believe that there are a couple goals in the second half that we can take advantage of. But the question is who's going to be able to unlock that one? Is this going to be a situation where Thomas Frank is going to continue on with Matisse Tell, or are we going to see a little bit of Richarlison? I would probably assume, I hate to say this, but I would probably think that Matisse Tell probably comes out for the second half. Just considering that the minutes that were played with by Richarlison in the international window, and considering we have Villarreal on Tuesday. But that being said, you can't allow this match to get away from you, right? You absolutely have to score goals in this match. You can't be caught thinking ahead. So this is it's imperative that Spurs take advantage of these 3 points that are absolutely needed. I don't like the idea that we're looking ahead, right? I never want to accuse a team of that. But that being said, it's like, I understand Thomas Frank. There are certain players that you want to have available for the Champions League. You want to make a good impression when it comes to the Champions League. But that being said, it's like the opponent that's in front of you right now, that has to be the priority. So me personally, I want to see some changes at halftime and start the second half putting the ball in the back of the net. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. Quick question for those in the chat. Number one, how would you rate this first half? And also, what is your first impression with a guy like Xavi Simons? Me personally, I think he's been absolutely brilliant. You can see the want to make sure that the ball is on his foot. And I also think with his crossing ability, he's been absolutely brilliant as well too. So me personally, I think he's actually been a standout. But we are ready to start the second half here. And it looks like West Ham will be going from right to left. And it looks like Tell will be out there as that ball gets played forward. As it comes down to West Ham in a central area, a nice little tip as that ball is going to go wide. And it looks like it was Jared Bowen right there with a long distance shot as it goes wide to the right there. So West Ham trying to take advantage right there. As now Spurs will have the goal kick here. And it will be Vicario. And now Spurs will try to get things going here. And that'll come down to Lucas Bergvall. Now down the left-hand side. Here's Berg. Here's Bergvall. Here's the overlap. And that ball's going to get deflected out. Man, it will be a Spurs corner. Good movement down the left-hand side right there. Damn it, I really wish he would have tried to play that forward to Xavi. That would have been a nice pass right there. As we have Audio Artisan 6.5 out of 10 out of 10. Simons has decent. You can see there's a lot more to come from him. I agree. We should have had a penalty in room. Oh yeah, for sure. I agree with that 100%. Xavi's going to whip one in. Post. Oh. Boom. And there's Papsar. Unbelievable. Good goal right there. As Papsar at the back post. Unmarked. And Spurs now absolutely grab the lead. There's no room for for the ref to take that one off the board. As Papsar left unmarked at the back post, and Xavi Simons gets his first assist. That was a great header right there. As we see that again, as Xavi puts an absolute dime. And look at that. Papsar is just unmarked at the back post. Nobody's there. And he puts one in. Terrible defending right there by West Ham. Great goal. Look at that. Unmarked. Brilliant goal. That Spurs grabbed the 1-0 lead. And that's exactly what I was talking about, man. Taking advantage of the first 10 minutes, being on the front foot, and taking this crowd out of this match. The last thing you want to do is allow West Ham to stay in this match. And good on Papstar. That's his first goal of the season. And you wonder what Harry Potter has in his wand here. And that ball's taken away. And it's Xavi who's got to play this one back. And it's Vicario. As Romero will play this one forward. That's turned over. It's Paqueta trying to play it in. Ooh, look at Vicario. Ooh, good save right there by Vicario as West Ham finally puts a shot on net, and it was Jared Bowen. As that ball trickled into space for Bowen, who put one on. As that looks like that'll get out for a corner. As Jared Bowen has 6 goals and 3 assists in his last 9 Premier League matches. But all of a sudden now, that ball will be punched out. And that'll be headed on forward right to Vicario, who immediately will play it out. And it's Xavi who cuts in. Xavi's going to try to lay one forward. Here's Matisse Tell. Oh, and there's just nothing there. God damn it, Matisse. And now there's going to be a whistle. And it looks like it will go back to Spurs. But that's what I want to see. Nice weighted passes forward, trying to get, Matisse into it, being a little bit more direct, challenging those channels. I like the idea right there. As that ball gets tipped out again. And that being said, it's like, man, yeah, I think it might be time to pull Matisse off the pitch. Oh, nice play right there by Jed. As Papsar will try to hold it. As that one will get out. As West Ham will play this one in. That's going to be a turnover. As looks like that was Matisse Tell trying to put one on right there. As that ball gets deflected out. I guess you can say the tenacity of Tell right there, but that being said, it's like, trying to shoot with 2 guys in front of you. Not exactly the most high quality shot right there, but it will get out for a Spurs throw in. As Lucas Bergvall will heave that one into the box. As it'll come down to Van de Ven. Van de Ven will try to put one in. But right there is Hermansen. Come on, Matisse. Yeah, you got to put a little pressure on him as that ball's going to get played forward down the right-hand side. And they're going to, and they're going to book, they're going to book Jed Spence. As we watch it again. No, I don't know about that. It didn't look like he pushed him. But Jed's going to get booked right here with the yellow in a dangerous area for West Ham. As Audio Artisan says, I think Tell might be trying too hard. He scored some nice goals in the international break. Yeah, he did. But that being said, it's like it's a different animal, right? The Premier League is a little bit different is a little different animal. Yeah, but that being said, we also saw it last year as well, too, when he was off the left-hand side, him trying to play a little hero ball. Not hitting the overlap. Trying to shoot in traffic. As we will see this ball played in. Back post. Nobody's there. Good defense by Spurs. As that was trying to go to the back post right there, and just a bad angle to try to put one on. As Mikey Van de Ven closed it out. As play resumes off the goal kick. As here's Van de Ven. There's a turnover right there. As West Ham's pressure. As Lucas Bergvall did a nice job. As there's a whistle right there. Oh boy, there's a red. And it looks like Susek is going off. As he gets a straight red. Oh. As now West Ham will be down. West Ham will be down to 10 as you look at João Palhinha's right leg right there. He went studs in. He went studs up right on João Palhinha. And now all of a sudden, all of a sudden West Ham now goes to 10. Susek has been shown straight red for going into a challenge. Studs out. Right here in the 55th minute. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you, Audio. That was nasty. Absolutely right call. Susek has been shown the door here. And that was an absolute nasty challenge on João Palhinha. As you see, the sock has been absolutely ripped to shreds because of his spikes. That being said, it was deliberate. 100% that was a deliberate challenge. Good call right there by the ref. And now all of a sudden, man, that's a nice little taste of justice right there as João Palhinha is up. And now West Ham is down to 10. So I probably assume now that Harry Potter has no choice as that ball's in. Lucas Bergvall! What a goal by the youngster. Absolute dynamite ball into the box. That was played beautifully right to the head of young Lucas Bergvall, who puts it over Hermansen. And now all of a sudden, It's 2-0 Spurs. What a goal. What an absolute goal. And that was Cuti Romero. Cuti Romero putting one right on the dime. Look at this. Timed his run perfectly. Right between KWP and Kavramopoulos. Unbelievable. What a goal. What a goal. And just as I was talking about, West Ham being a little bit more compact, all of a sudden, Lucas Bergvall knifes through a channel and putting one on. By the way, I'm 2 for 2 when it came to goal prediction today. I think I said Pat Sarr, Lucas Bergvall, and Xavi getting one. So I'm 2 for 2. Just saying. As Bergvall with just a beautiful header. Oh, look at Jed Spence now, beating his man. Here's Jed, going to try to play it forward. There's nobody there as that ball gets played out. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Audio. That was a beautiful pass and a beautiful header. But that is quintessential Cuti Romero. And look at the away fans. Absolutely going bananas at the London Stadium. That Spurs have come out absolutely on fire. And there's a pass into the box. And that's going to be headed out. And it'll be a Spurs corner here. He said, get yourself a lottery ticket. Yeah. I wish my powers absolutely I wish my powers actually lended to the lottery. If that would be said, I would be like a billionaire 2 times over. As Spurs now will have the corner. By the way, if I won the lottery, dude, I would get season tickets. And I'd be there. I would literally buy a place in the UK and just travel as that ball gets played in. And it looks like it'll be headed up and over. And it looks like it was Paulinho that got to it. As we are approaching the 60th minute now, Spurs lead by 2. And now this is the opportunity right here where you can bring on, you might be able to bring on certain players to get some minutes. And it looks like West Ham might be making a change here as that ball is going to get played direct by Hermansen. As that's headed forward. And that ball is going to get played back to Vicario, who immediately goes out to the right for Pedro Porro. And it will be Cuti. As Van de Ven now will play it up the left-hand side. There's Jed Spence. As now Cuti Romero will try to play it forward. He's gonna play it up to Bergvall. There's nobody there. Here's Jed Spence. Spence. He's gonna put back post. That's gonna get headed up. Kept in by Kudus. As that'll go out and it'll be a Spurs throw-in. As Diop made a nice little challenge right there by Diop. If I'm being honest, that was actually quite nice. So now there will be a 2-sided change for West Ham as Fernandez will come off. And it looks like Somerville's coming off as well too. And it looks like Guillaume comes in. And I don't understand exactly what that was all about. And it looks like Musa is coming in for West Ham. So West Ham down to playing with 10 on a red. has made a two-sided change. Look at Caduce. Look at Caduce. Take that shit back. I think Wet Spam might get relegated. Yeah, and I've been saying it now since the start of the season, since they absolutely got blown off the pitch by Sunderland. Right? You can tell. You can tell quality. Right? You can tell quality when you see it. Right? And the fact that Sunderland, a newly promoted team, literally played them off the pitch in the opener, and you saw the way that they did it. It kind of makes you look at it for what it is. As Bergvall now will try to play it up the left-hand side. Here's Jedi. As Bergvall blows past his man, putting it forward for Jedi. 1v1 on the left-hand side. Gets around the corner. And that's going to get tapped out. Yeah, and the interesting thing about it is, like, when you look at West Ham as a whole, they're an older team. Quality is suspect. And they just don't have any playmakers, right, outside of Bowen and Paqueta. But that being said, as you've seen the job of what Spurs have been able to do today, if you can take away some of the central areas, it doesn't leave a lot of room for Paqueta to do what Paqueta does. Same thing with Bowen, as that ball gets whipped, and that's going to get punched out. It'll be held in by Poro. Here's Tell. And here's Bergvall in the box by himself. Shoot, scores! Oh, it's a Van de Ven banger. Mikey Van de Ven. Mikey. As that ball rattled in the box, as Lucas Bergvall was trying to create space for himself, a heavy touch that landed right on the foot of Van de Ven, who was in the right place at the right time. And now it's 3-0 Spurs in the 64th minute. And absolutely, floodgates. Absolutely. And just like that, it's 3-0 Spurs. And of course, there's the West Ham supporters leaving for the exit. It's over. And that was a nice little touch right there by Polinia to free Bergvall. As he was trying to create space, the ball finds Van de Ven. And Van de Ven buries it. Unbelievable. The floodgates are out. And there's Harry Potter looking stunned on the touchline. Unfortunately, these are the type of performances, man. And when you look at the fact that we really just don't have a striker on the pitch, and we've already put 3, and by the way, I predicted a 3-0 scoreline. It's probably going to be like 4. But the reality is, these are the type of performances that, I hate to say it, get managers fired. And I understand that it's a project right now at West Ham. But results do matter. That's a nice little box out right there by Van de Ven, as that'll get out for a goal kick. And yeah, is there a fire drill? Yeah, I would probably assume we might see that. As there's the Spurs contingent. It's weird not seeing Daniel Levy up there. But it is what it is, right? I will say this, that, yeah, I mean, these are the type of matches that certainly get managers fired. Now, I don't know if they pull the plug on Graham, because, I'm sure Graham Potter, when he took this job, said, listen, this isn't something that's going to correct itself in a year. Like, it's going to take time because you have to overturn the roster. And when you look at the PSR numbers when it comes to West Ham, you see the money that they've been spending, and you look at the quality, right? There's got to be some roster turnover. That ball's played in nice. Here's Jed. That's as that ball's taken away, and that'll get out. Yeah, I just they could get Nuno. By the way, they would be a lot better if they did. So it looks like there's going to be a two-sided switch here, and it looks like we are going to see Richarlison, and I think we're going to see Randal Kolo Muani. That ball is going to get played in. Headed back. There's a shot. Ooh, over the bar. And it was Kudus. Yeah, but even like, so for instance, let's say that they get Nuno, right? You're going to be playing, well, and it's probably right. That probably might be that might be the right play for this group to be a little bit more defensively solid is now coming on to be Callum Wilson for Paqueta. As it looks like they're going to try to be a little bit more aggressive in the attack. Down 3. But that being said, it's like, maybe with this group, that's exactly what they need is to be a little bit more defensively solid and just be a little bit more of a counterattacking team. And the interesting thing is that's kind of like, the nexus of Graham a little bit. Like when he was at Brighton, they were able to get on the front foot while still maintaining their defensive shape, but they just don't have the quality at West Ham to play that way, right? So maybe a Jose Mourinho or a Nuno might be a better approach, is that they're trying to play this one forward. As here's Bowen now. And Spurs cannot afford to give up a goal in this situation. And that ball is going to get played on. Ooh, and there's Vicario. You can see them employing Gareth Southgate. But by the way, the interesting thing about Southgate is like he gets crap, but England looked their best under Southgate. Just saying. Maybe ex-player Michael Carrick, yeah. But the reality is, it's like when you're a team that's devoid of skill, that's usually when. And your 2 best players are your forward players. Yeah, it's me personally. It's that ball's going to get played direct right there. Tell with a nice touch. Here comes Bergvall. As that ball is flipped to Pedro Porro. Back to Bergvall, flicks it, and that ball's going to get. Oh, it's turned over again. Here's Kudus in the box. And he's got to play it back. Here's Pedro Porro. And he's going to lay this one back. By the way, man, Bergvall's had a nice second half. He's played well. Getting forward, getting into space. He's really grown into this match. Here's Kudus. That ball gets deflected and out for a corner. Yeah, and that's the thing though, right? And Spurs will Spurs are going to bring on a couple players here. And it looks like Richarlison's coming on for Xavi Simons. And it looks like Jed Spence is coming off. And Destiny Udoji's coming in. So it's nice to see Udoji. Good first spell for Xavi Simons as he gets 70 in his first appearance in a Spurs shirt. He gets the assist off the corner. By the way, good link-up play off the left-hand side between those two. That was the thing of beauty to see. It's good to see Destiny Udoji back out there. Good to see him healthy. And it's good to see Richie for the last 20 minutes. So it doesn't look like we're going to see a Randal Kolo Muani today, which is fine. But yeah, I would say that you're absolutely right. He really was. One of the things that was nice to see was as soon as the red card happened and the air got deflated from West Ham, Bergvall using his pace and his endurance to attack channels, be a little bit more forward, It was nice to see, as Vicario will clean this one up. As here's Udoji, who immediately plays it back to Devin. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I would agree, Wayne. One of the things that I liked about it was as soon as that red card happened, oh, look at that by Arcudi Romero. Taking the ball away. Here comes Spurs now. And it's Kudus. Plays it back to Pap. As soon as that happened, you saw Lucas Bergvall with big eyes right there in the channel, and he absolutely just took advantage of it. But that being said, as play continued, right, you saw the space that he was willing to eat up in the box. He was just getting into good areas, and Kudus can't handle that one. But it's Pap. I will say that Xavi Simons' first impression was a good one, right? The first 15 minutes were sloppy when it came to possession and when it came to just link up play. But as that first half started evolving, you saw the comfortability with Xavi Simons on the ball. It just looked absolutely different. The only thing that was missing was that unlocking in the attacking third. But as soon as that second half started, you saw the bravery and the ambition of that attack. As there's a player on the corner, it's Udoji. There's a shot that gets deflected as Polinia tried to put one on. I like it. And again, right, we're talking 5 minutes into the second half. They get forward off the left-hand side, and they automatically get a corner. And then, of course, they leave Papsar completely unmarked. And all of a sudden, bam, goal. And then, of course, you get the red card. And then, again, bam, goal right there. Cudi Romero playing one through, seeing an opening. He puts one right on the money. And Lucas Bergvall gets his first goal of the season. And then Mikey Van de Ven, again, it starts with a nice little touch pass from Polinia, finding Lucas Bergvall wide open in the boxes. He trying to create space. The ball inadvertently lands on Mikey Van de Ven's foot, and all of a sudden it's 3. And within a span of 15 minutes, this match is done. And unfortunately, West Ham just doesn't have any quality. And there's an example of it right there. The ball gets taken away. Spurs employed a pretty solid mid block. They couldn't be direct through the middle of the park. Here's Richarlison. Oh, nice flick from Kudus to himself. Here's Kudus. Here's Polinia. Here's Kudus now. Oh, nice play right there. Are they going to say that ball gets out? And it looks like Brendan Johnson's coming in. And it looks like Wilson Odebear is coming in as well too. And is that Kolo? No, it's not. It's Kevin Danso. So no Kolo Muani today, which is fine. But I like it though. Spurs up 3. They can. This one is officially over. Good opportunity to get Kevin Danso in. Good opportunity for Wilson Odebear. It makes sense, and it's a good opportunity for Brendan Johnson. And I would, and this is actually good, right? Getting Brendan Johnson minutes at his preferred position, which is on the right side. Same thing with Odebear. These guys absolutely need some minutes, and Kevin Danso as well. So he said it's like watching Prime Brazil. That's funny. Yeah, that would be cool if we had Prime Ronaldinho. That would be sweet. That dude was like a human joystick. As we are counting down the time before Spurs will walk away with all three. It didn't start pretty, but it certainly ended pretty. As Bergvall weaves out of traffic. And it's Palinha. As West Ham now essentially has no choice but to play 10 behind the ball. And it looks like Spurs are just comfortable, just eating up possession here. One of the things that I enjoyed watching today was keeping that intensity toward from the end of the first half into the second. And their ability paid off. Here's Tell. And there's just nothing there. And of course, Susic taking a bad red. The floodgates were open after the headed goal off the corner, as that one will get out. And here come the switches here, as Wilson Odebear comes in for Matisse Tell on the left, as Lucas Bergvall will come off for Wilson Odebear. And it looks like Mikey Van de Ven will come off for Kevin Danso. Yeah, Bergvall probably gets my man of the match. If I had to give one, yeah, I'd probably say it might have been Bergvall. I thought his play today, especially in that second half, was absolutely brilliant. Look at VDV. Absolute class. As play resumes here, we have about 10 minutes left in this one, plus stoppage. Can't imagine there'll be that much stoppage. Spurs lead 3-0. Probably should be 4. As it's Pedro Porro now down the right-hand side. That ball's going to get played centrally. Oh. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. He got chopped down. No whistle. Here comes West Ham now. Oh, light. Lovely little tackle right there by Palinha as that gets out. As Hermanson now will play it off to the right. As it looks like the crowd is thinned a little bit there at the London Stadium. I wonder why. As Spurs have essentially played West Ham off the park today, and they did exactly what I wanted to see. I didn't think that this was going to be a match where we needed to show respect. I think we needed to show our class, and we did. Yes, it took a good 15, 20 minutes into the first half to really get going, but you saw flashes and elements of what we were trying to do towards the end of that first half. And as the second half opened, yeah, there was no drop off in intensity. We kept pushing forward, And I actually thought that our defense was brilliant, right? It allowed us to continue to stay on the front foot. And I would agree with you, Audio was a very professional performance today. This is exactly what you want to see coming off the international break, coming off the loss to Bournemouth, just putting in a solid performance. And this is exactly like me personally. I already thought Thomas Frank had money in the bank when it came to, I guess, rewriting the narrative like that. It's okay for losses when it comes to Spurs, as Brennan Johnson completely missed that pass. But that being said, I think that Thomas Frank had already some credibility when it came to that already, and I think this kind of just I think this kind of galvanizes the fan base. There's a whistle there, and that's going to be on Jared Bowen. I think after that Bournemouth loss, I think fans were just quick to point the finger at Thomas Frank when really, if anything, it should have been levied at the players. I mean, at the end of the day, right? They came out absolutely just sluggish, flat-footed, and Bournemouth took advantage, right? And so from that standpoint, I can understand the fans' frustration because, again, I mean, it's easy to remember the 22 losses and the narrative like losses are okay with Tottenham Hotspur, and forgetting that it's a new chapter as that ball is going to get played out to the right, and that's going to be headed down. It looks like Pedro Porro will keep it alive as that ball gets played all the way out right there. I think it's easy for everyone to remember because of the way and the style of which Ange Postecoglou ran this team. I think everyone understood that we didn't necessarily have the type of roster that was suited for that style of play. And as the injuries mounted, as the losses mounted, as that ball's taken away, and that'll get out for throwing. I think it's easy for, especially when it comes to those type of losses, I think it's easy for fans to just to revert back to something that's comfortable, which is pointing fingers at the boss. As Destiny Udogie came in, Jared, come on now. Udogie didn't even touch it, but when you have a coach like Thomas Frank, who sets the example when it comes to expectations and what is not acceptable for this club. These are the type of results that you expect to see, especially coming back from after a loss. And especially because we had to wait 2 weeks for it. From that standpoint, it's absolutely nice to see because it reminds folks that, none of that matters. What happened last year, none of that matters. It's a different group. It's a different set of expectations. And we're playing football, I guess you can say a little bit more traditionally. And I think, I think that actually kind of suits this club. And as a result, man, we get these type of results against teams where we should take 3 points. Not showing respect. Showing our class and not taking our foot off the gas as we're in the 85th minute right now. Now that I think about it, right, the interesting thing is like West Ham really hasn't challenged Vicario today. Maybe once, maybe twice. It really has been just an all-around great performance today by Spurs. As you see the will that's drained from West Ham. You see them absolutely deflated. And I guess that to me, that's just That just shows you our quality. Here's Wilson Odebear trying to play it forward. That ball gets played centrally, just over the head of Richarlison. As here's Kevin Danso. We'll play it up the left-hand side. Here's Udoji. And Odebear will play it back. So obviously, Spurs are just trying to wind the clock out here. As they're essentially playing keep away here for the last 3 minutes. Yeah, absolutely, Nate Holloway. Thank you, my friend. As here comes Pedro Porro now. Down the right-hand side, Porro. That ball was just a heavy touch. Always love having you around, Nate. As Spurs here now are just winding down the clock. As that goes to the right-hand side, here's Pedro. Porro is now going to put one in. That's going to be tipped up. Oh, look at that play. That was João Palhinha. Great tackle right there. As that ball now gets played to the right-hand side. As Udoji tries to step up and make a challenge. And there's Vicario. Yeah, there was nothing there off the right side. As essentially for the last 35 minutes, West Ham has been playing to 10 as Susek got a straight red for a spikes up challenge on João Palhinha. And as soon as that red card was issued, the floodgates opened. KWP still looks like a child. That's funny. With with goals from Lucas Bergvall and Mikey van de Ven, but it starts right after the break as Spurs win a corner, and Xavi Simons puts one at the back post to an unmarked Papsar, who puts Spurs up 1-0. And as soon as Susek gets thrown out of the match with the red, in successive minutes, both Lucas Bergvall and Mikey van de Ven score goals. And as it stands, it's 3-0 here as we're approaching the 90th minute now. And it'll be 5 minutes of stoppage time. That's funny. I remember in the U18s he changed a bit. Well, that was going to be the interesting matchup, right? Xavi on the left versus KWP, and it ended up being more like KWP versus Jed Spence. Here's Brendan Johnson. Johnson's going to play one in as that gets headed out, and that's kept in. Here's Papsar. Here's Pedro. Pedro's going to play one in. Ooh! Good save right there by Hermansen. Is that actually was a beautiful cross right there. As Mohamed Kudus can't put it in. As we see this again. Oh, I see. Oh, Brennan Johnson was offside. God damn, Brennan. As he found Mohamed Kudus unmarked. Good. That, by the way, that was a good save by Hermansen. And of course, Brendan Johnson was already offside right there. So this will be a West Ham goal kick here. as Ward-Prowse comes off and Irving comes in now, as Beccario will play this out to Mr. Danso. As this ball will get played out to the right, and it's Pap Star, Pap's Blue Ribbon. And of course, Pap is coming off an international break where he bagged 2. As here's Udoge, the Udoge. And it just feels like Spurs are going to hold possession here. Here's Pedro. As that gets played back. As that's a nice little direct pass. Here's Brennan Johnson, plays it across. Here's Kudus. That ball gets tipped. And that'll go out for a corner. That was a nice little play in right there from Brennan Johnson. That was a good time run. And Richarlison flicked it on to Kudus, who couldn't handle it. So that being said, I don't know. I kind of wish Richarlison would have been a little bit more, would have been a little bit more stingy right there and just played one on. Nevertheless, it'll be a corner kick as Pedro Porro will now take this corner as we are now in the 93rd minute. So we're about a minute and a half from this one ending. As Porro whips one in. As that's going to be tipped out. So Spurs will get another corner here. And it looks like Kudus is coming over. He'll take this one. As this was a dominating performance. There's no other way. There's no other way around it. Spurs were fighting a little bit of rust, a little bit of inconsistency, and a lot of refs in the first half. But again, man, that intensity to end the first half, as that one was played short. And it was Palhinha that put it out. But as Spurs were getting into that first half, the last 15, 20 minutes, they kept that intensity going into the second half. And, credit to them. They played well. They came out the second half exactly as they finished. And they got to work right away. I mean, within the first, 10 minutes of that first half, they secure that corner down the left-hand side. And Xavi Simons, seeing the fact that Pap Star was unmarked at the back post, puts in a beautiful ball. And there it is. Bang, it's 1-0. And that's going to be the final right there. Spurs keep the clean sheet. As I predicted, it was 3-0. And Thomas Frank picks up another 3 points in the, I guess you can call it the London Derby here. And Spurs, man, absolutely dominating second half. And, listen, man, this wasn't about West Ham today. This was about what Spurs were going to be able to do. And I think they showed their quality today 100%. 100% audio. It was absolutely quality. And the thing that I loved about it was the fact that, they didn't take their foot off the gas. It would have been easy. It absolutely would have been easy for them to do that. But, one of the things that me personally is a mark of a good team is understanding exactly where you have your opponent. And sure enough, again, man, that started that second half, man. You saw exactly how they were attacking on the front foot. And they were getting some nice results down that left-handed side off that overlap between Jedi and Xavi. And sure enough, man, they work a nice little ball down there. It gets out for the corner. Xavi, finds an unmarked Pap Star, gets the first goal, and then of course, the Susek red card, which came, pretty quickly after that. And then we saw exactly just how quick Spurs can attack, because Cudi Romero, finds Lucas Bergvall, times out his run, finds him in the channel, and the finish was even better, right? That nice little header over the head of Hermanson. All of a sudden, it's 2-0, and then again within 10 minutes, Polina finds Bergvall in the box, and what I thought he was actually just trying to make space. Turns out it was a nice little pass, and there was Mikey Van de Ven to clean it up, and that's it. It's 3-0. 3-0 at that point, and Spurs were not going to allow a 10-man Man United to get back in this one. So let's go ahead and look at this. Let's look at the stats in this one. Spurs win the possession battle, 64-36. God damn, that was beautiful. XG 1.22 for Spurs, 0.60 for West Ham. Total shots, Spurs 14, West Ham 7. Shots on target, 5-4 Spurs. Big chances, 3-1. Accurate passes, 456, 87% to 230 for West Ham. Fouls committed, 8-7 for West Ham. And Spurs dominated the corner battle, 13-2. When we look at shots a little bit more in depth, shots off target, Spurs 4, West Ham 3. On target, 5-4. Block shots, 5-0. Shots inside the box, 10. 10 for Spurs to 6 for West Ham. Shots outside the box, 4-1. When we look in depth with the passes, total 524 for Spurs to 299 for West Ham. Passes in the own half, 226 for Spurs to 120. Passes in the opposition half, 230 to 110. Accurate long balls, 26-16 for Spurs. Accurate crosses, 5-3. Throws, 21-19. Touches in the opposition box, 37-11. Goddamn. Defenses, tackles. Spurs, 14. West Ham, 13. Interceptions, 5-2 West Ham. Clearances, 42-9. Keeper saves, 4-2 for Vicario. Duels, 45-44 West Ham. That's pretty close. Ground duels, 30-25 for Spurs. Aerial duels, 20-14 to West Ham. And successful dribbles, 8-6. And this is exactly what it is, man. It was an absolute professional quality performance for Spurs. This is exactly what you want to see from this team coming off a loss like they did against Bournemouth. And again, I always get back to the inkling, the want to point fingers when things don't go right, and it's unfortunate because when you have a season like we had last year, especially in the Premier League, like never mind the trophy. The trophy is what it is, right? And again, you can't live off the trophy. But that being said, when we had a team where we are rotating in the Premier League and you're losing these type of matches, it's easy now to point your finger at it and say, well, Frank didn't do this or Frank didn't do that. And it's like, well, we actually had the same group of players out there when we went after a City. And so obviously you're going to try to keep the same momentum. But that being said, it is what it is, right? The players didn't show up. They didn't perform. And so all of a sudden coming into this one, there is that want to kind of look over your shoulder and be like, yeah, well, we kind of laid it against Bournemouth. And now all of a sudden it's kind of the same type of opponent, or you want to lump West Ham in the same box as a team like Bournemouth, who are night and day better than West Ham at this point, right? Without realizing that, they're better coached, they have better players. And so I understand the inkling to want to be a little nervous about it. But that being said, it's like, again, Thomas Frank has money in the bank when it comes to that, right? So there should not be any worry. And if anything, what this win does for me is kind of prove that point, a little bit more, right? Where this team can actually be trusted to rebound or potentially even go on a run, because I think the quality is just there. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how Xavi Simons and Randal Kolo Muani come along. My first initial impression of Xavi Simons on this team is a very good one. I think he passed his first test with flying colors, and especially towards the end of that first half where you just saw the confidence on the ball, the ability to spray it. It looks like that once this attack is at 100%, you're going to see the goals come quite naturally. I actually think that we're really when we're set up 100%, this thing is going to look unbelievably deadly. I'm a little bit looking forward to that January window, knowing that we absolutely do need something on the left-hand side. And there's going to be a potential where our attacking three is going to be new left winger, Randal, Kolo, Muani up top, Mohamed Kudus on the right, and Xavi underneath. It's going to be absolutely lethal, right? And so for me, like, the sky is the limit with this team. And when I think about this game in a whole, man, in a vacuum, man, this was actually a really great performance. We got a little bit of those defensive jitters out of the way, outside of Bowen's pass in the box where it found Paqueta and he pushed it wide. That was it. That was it for West Ham's offense. West Ham's attack. And so from both ends of the pitch, man, this was just unbelievable. Audio Artisan says, looks like Xavi has got a lot to offer. Oh, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. And again, like, these are the type of players that makes guys like Romero, makes guys like Betancourt want to stay around, right? Because if you have that type of ambition when it comes to the transfer window and you're getting these type of quality players, right, it makes you think twice about wanting to leave, right? And so I'm actually looking forward to this, right? Because the next guy that's going to come back before the January window is going to be Kulusevski. And it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out, right? Is this going to be a situation where you might be able to potentially move Kudus to the left-hand side and then, play Kulu on the right? That's something that might be interesting as well too. Or maybe this is an opportunity when Kulusevski comes back and that's your number 10. And then, Xavi stays on the left. I don't know how that's going to play out, but once you get those type of ballers back, man, now all of a sudden, now you have a good problem on your hands. Savio would have been nice in that game. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that deal get done, but the reality about that one was that Manchester United didn't have anybody lined up to replace him, right? There was talks about Rodrigo potentially, but time was running out in the window, and teams are not going to let certain players go unless they know for a fact they have a replacement lined up. And I just get the impression that Manchester City just didn't, and it is what it is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're done with Savinho. Knowing that he still wants to come and be a part of this, as far as I'm concerned, that's still on the table, right? So it all depends on the transfer business of Manchester City and whether or not they're going to be able, to bring somebody, to bring somebody in to replace them. I would probably assume that deal might get done in January, but we're a long ways off from that. What I do know is that right now, with the addition of Xavi, it absolutely changes the dynamic of what this attack is going to look like, right? And it's only going to get better once Randal, Kolo, Muani gets to a position where we're going to see him on the pitch. I would probably assume we're going to see that on Tuesday. I don't think he starts, but there's a good chance that Muani sees the pitch for the first time. But again, the sky is the limit when it comes to this attack. What looked like a potential liability as the season started, and trust me, it was, right? You were kind of hoping maybe there might be a partnership there between Kudus and Richarlison. And it looked like that potentially was playing out, but you're going to need more than that, because as we saw against Bournemouth, it's easy to shut it down, especially when good defenses know how to take at least one piece out of the equation. And today, as we were looking at it, early in that first half, it was looking like, they were willing to press and they were willing to overload certain parts of the pitch. But as soon as that 25-minute mark came by, and you're starting to see the gaps that were open centrally, and then you started seeing Xavi enter those areas of the pitches where it drew defenders to him, and then all of a sudden that ball moves out right, and now you're 1v2 because you actually have the advantage, especially with Kudus and Pedro Porro on that overlap. And now all of a sudden it started looking a little bit more dynamic. And now we were starting to get balls into the box at the end of the first half. And we were actually peppering that box. And it just because we didn't necessarily have a striker there to take advantage. And of course, naturally that would have been Richarlison, or that would have been Dominic Solanke. We actually kind of missed Dominic Solanke today. I'll be the first to admit it. It would have been a little bit different with Dominic Solanke on the pitch because he's got the size and he's got the ability in the hold-up play that actually would have actually made a huge difference in that first half, without a doubt. And that's the ability of what Dominic Solanke brings to this team. Because imagine if we're starting with Solanke up top and not Matisse Tell, right? Unfortunately, that is the option that we had, just considering that, Richarlison, played a bulk in the international window. And the last thing that Thomas Frank wanted to do was put a 50% or a 60% Richarlison out there. And then there's the potential of him getting hurt, right? So you're not going to do that. So you had to rotate. And because of it, we ended up with Matisse Tell instead of having a guy like Dominic Solanke available. It would have drastically changed that entire first half. It probably even changes the direction of the second half as well, considering how well we ended that first half. So from that aspect, man, I was absolutely pleased that we were able to get the 3 points, but we were also able to take advantage of that 15-minute window in the second half where we essentially put this match away for good. That's what good teams do, right? They put away shitty teams like West Ham. Like, it's no disrespect to West Ham, but they're not even in the same bracket as Spurs. But I think that's going to do it for me. I want to thank the chat, the guys like Audio Artisan and Nate Holloway and Wayne Bonner and some of those guys that always make my chats fun. I want to thank those that were tuning in. But most importantly, I want to thank the Tottenham Hotspur for getting a 3-0 win tonight, because God damn it, that was fun to watch. And it's always a good way to end the week, knowing that your team put up a lopsided number. So I definitely want to thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. But most importantly, man, enjoy your weekend. A quick note that tomorrow we are back with Yanks Abroad, our weekly recap of U.S. men's national team players in Europe. That's going to be tomorrow, because Monday I will be on the road. I will be on the road in Miami to watch the Seattle Sounders take on Inter Miami, and of course that footage will be. I think I might upload to YouTube as well too, but that will be on the TikTok. So that's going to be fun too as well too. And I most definitely on Tuesday will be watching the Champions League performance against Villarreal. So all right, guys, I'm going to take off. Spurs win 3-0. Very impressive. You guys have a great weekend, man. It's been fun. And let me get the right outro. There we go.